Welcome back to Anime What If Saga, where every shadow hides a story untold. Today, we step into the beginning of something legendary. Last time, we witnessed the rise of a hunter who defied fate itself. Yet destiny has only just begun to test his strength. The dungeons grow darker. The enemies grow smarter. The stakes rise beyond imagination. This is the moment where power evolves from survival to supremacy. New threats emerge. New secrets unravel. New shadows awaken. Prepare yourself. Because the real legend of solo leveling starts now. From lightless battles to silent evolution, every level has its price. This is where power finds purpose and loneliness becomes destiny. Welcome to Chapter 8, The Dungeon of Shadows. Like, share, and subscribe to join the cinematic solo leveling saga right here on Anime What If Saga. The days following the Red Gate incident bled into quiet repetition. Train, raid, heal, repeat. But every motion carried something new, something alive under his skin, humming softly, hungering. Each morning, the system's notifications greeted him like clockwork. Daily quest completed. Stat points plus 6. Bonus reward acquired. He grew faster than logic allowed. His strength multiplied, reflexes sharpened beyond the human limit. Yet no matter how far he climbed, the deeper part of his soul stayed cold. When he walked past other hunters at the Association HQ, their chatter dimmed. Some glanced away, others simply stared. The weakest hunter they'd once pitied now radiated an aura that made Season D ranks flinch subconsciously. That was the problem. The stronger he became, the further he drifted from the people he once wanted to protect. By his next raid, Jinwoo was different, quieter, detached, almost clinical. The portal was only AD rank, something others treated like routine exercise. Inside the cavern, goblins and lizardmen swarmed, pitifully weak compared to what he'd seen. The team barely had time to draw blades before Jinwoo moved ahead. Not rushing, just walking. Smooth, silent, unhurried. He swung his knife once. A goblin's head fell cleanly. A second slash, another fell before even reacting. The rest panicked, scurrying into shadows. He could have ended them all with a single motion, but instead he paused, watching his kill dissolve into fading blue dust. The thought struck him. Not body, mana residue. He crouched, studying the remains. The corpse faded fully within seconds, but the shadow remained longer, just a darker patch on the ground, pulsing faintly. That same presence from the Red Gate whispered faintly through his mind. Skill activation available. Shadow extraction rank. His pulse spiked. Now. He reached toward it, not with hand, but intent. The black mark quivered, then rose like ink swirling through water. For a heartbeat, the ghost of the goblin reformed, pure shadow, eyes burning faint blue. Shadow extraction. Success. Name the shadow. Ghetto, he whispered. It crouched obediently, a perfect replica rendered in smoke. The hunters behind him screamed. What is that thing? Jinwoo turned calmly. Mine. When the dungeon cleared, Jinwoo remained behind. He ignored the guild leader's protests, staring at the bodies crumbling into light. Extraction success. 3/8. Shadow capacity expanded +1. 3 shadows stood before him, humanoid outlines flickering like black fire. Their blank faces lowered in perfect obedience. He tested commands mentally, a whisper, a thought. They moved accordingly, forward, defend, return. Coordination perfect. No hesitation, no will accept his. The power felt intoxicating, but there was a cost. A strange weight pressed behind his ribs. He could feel their existence pulling at something within him, as though their loyalty fed on his essence. Each summon tethered a small thread of his soul. Still, he couldn't stop smiling. This is mine, he said softly. Not borrowed mana. Not artificial ranks. Just mine. The system chimed as if amused. Notice. You are now the master of 3 shadows. Job advancement quest unlocked. Path of the Monarch. A pulse of dark warmth radiated from his chest. For the first time, his system referred to him not as player but monarch. Outside the dungeon, no one spoke to him. Everyone had seen what he did, the unnatural creatures rising under his will. In their eyes, it wasn't power. It was blasphemy. Jinwoo didn't bother explaining. They wouldn't understand even if they tried. He returned home long after midnight. Jinna was asleep, piano music playing faintly through a recording on her tablet, something soft their mother once hummed. The sound grounded him, if only for a moment. He stood before his mother's bedside and exhaled quietly. In the reflection of the medical glass, faint shadows still coiled around his feet, loyal, silent shapes. He whispered, "I'll use this power for you, Mom. But if something inside me ever tries to take control, I'll end it myself first." The shadow nearest him twitched, almost like a nod. For a moment, he thought he heard the faintest echo from the void beyond the real world. A voice not his own, not hostile, not kind, whispering from far beyond the gate. "You're almost ready." He froze. Quote. "Who are you?" No response, only faint laughter melting into silence. A week later, he tested his limits again, this time against a swarm of ogres deep inside an unregistered C-rank dungeon. The air thick with sweat and iron, Jinwoo stood amid corpses while shadows surged out of the ground like smoke, striking with perfect rhythm. He didn't move much, he didn't have to. His force multiplied through them. A single hand gesture turned chaos into formation. A whisper turned fear into victory. He was no longer fighting for survival. He was practicing command. When the last ogre fell, the dungeon's light fractured, blue dust swirling in silence. Jinwoo dismissed his army with one breath. The shadows sank into the earth, leaving him utterly alone in the cavern. That was when it hit him. No heartbeat near but his own, no voices left to challenge or comfort. The greater his strength became, the quieter the world grew around him. The line between hunter and monster had never been thinner. He looked at his hand, fingers trembling faintly, and closed it. "I won't lose myself," he said softly. "No matter how deep this goes." But somewhere inside, buried beneath every level up notification, his own reflection whispered back. "We'll see. Power sparks envy. Envy breeds conflict. The world that once ignored him now trembles before him." Welcome to Chapter 9, The Hunter's War. If you're enjoying the solo leveling cinematic saga, hit like, share, and subscribe to Anime What If Saga for more epic storytelling. 2 months after the Red Gate tragedy, Sung Jinwoo's name had become both legend and rumor. Whispers followed him everywhere. Hunters used his name as myth, an E-rank who soloed bosses, one who commanded black ghosts, a man whose presence made mana itself bow. The guild union issued an official request for his re-ranking evaluation, but Jinwoo ignored it quietly. He didn't need their validation anymore. Still, whispers grew into warnings. At association headquarters, Chairman Go Gun-hee listened quietly as his aides listed incidents. "Sir, several guild leaders have requested an investigation. They claim Sung Jinwoo is using unregistered magic." The old man's eyes sharpened behind his glasses. "Unregistered," he muttered. "Or uncontrollable." He looked at the photographs spread across the table. Cracked earth, monsters' bodies that left no trace except black residue, hunters kneeling from unseen pressure. Go Gun-hee smiled faintly, something between respect and concern. "Looks like our world's balance has already started to tilt." Meanwhile, at a high-rise meeting across Seoul, the Scavenger Guild gathered, Korea's most powerful group. Their master, Baek Yoonho, stared at a projection of Jinwoo's raid videos, blurry, shaky, captured from a frightened D-Rank's helmet cam. Jinwoo moved like smoke, silent, precise, absolute. Shadows fought for him, blades flickered through air like liquid night. One younger officer slammed his hand on the table. This guy. We'd be fools not to recruit him." Another scoffed. Recruit. More like control. Nobody gains that much power without cost. Beck said nothing, though his golden eyes narrowed. He'd felt Jinwoo's mana once before, back when he was still weak. That time, it felt like a breeze. Now, it might crush him. He finally murmured, prepare a containment test. If he refuses to join, we'll see how far we can push him. A dangerous silence settled over the room. The war wasn't official yet, but the began there. 2 weeks later, the association's broadcast listed another unstable gate near Incheon port. High mana density, urgent clearance required. Jinwoo arrived silently, summoned through a false, joint raid invitation. When he entered the meeting area, he saw them. A team, already assembled, led by Wang Dongsu's assistant, Kong Taeshik, known for his brutality. Several A and B rank hunters stood behind him, eyes glinting with calculation rather than fear. Hunter Sung. Glad you came, Kong said, tone too cheerful. Jinwoo eyed the group slowly. Funny. Looks more like an ambush than a raid. A few laughed uneasily. You're clever. Then you know why we're here. Jinwoo sighed. To make a point, then. Kong smirked, raising his hand. You've made powerful people nervous, Sung Jinwoo. Consider this, a balance adjustment. Without warning, fire magic exploded across the field, bright red flames engulfing everything. Shockwaves shattered gravel. When the light faded, Jinwoo stood untouched, the air around him rippling with dark mana. Skill. Shadow armor, activated. Black smoke wrapped his body like liquid steel. His eyes glowed amethyst beneath the haze. You survivors never learn, he said quietly, his voice calm yet thunderous through the wind. The A-rank mage hurled chains of lightning. Jinwoo dodged once, closing distance before the spell even finished forming. His dagger traced through the air, too fast to see. A scream, cut short. The mage fell before realizing it. Idiot. Kong roared, charging with twin daggers blazing in runic gold. He struck, each clash of blade against Jinwoo's producing arcs of fire and shadow. But with every block, Jinwoo grew faster. His aura darkened. Shadows underfoot thickened and pulsed. Skill. Shadow exchange, incomplete prototype activated. In the blink of an eye, Jinwoo vanished, reappearing from one shadow to another behind an attacker. A flash of motion, another body down. The battlefield descended into chaos. Smoke and mana collided, filling the air with roars and screams. Jinwoo moved like a phantom weaving through explosions. Every strike was fatal, clean, efficient. By the time the last attacker dropped to his knees, trembling, black tendrils had already coiled around the clearing. Why? You're a monster, he managed to whisper. Jinwoo's expression remained still. No. I just stopped pretending to be human. When the fight ended, the sky darkened unnaturally. The dungeon gate pulsed as though it recognized its new king. Warning. Uncontrolled synchronization progressing, 8%. Pain slammed into Jinwoo's chest. He dropped to one knee, shadows splitting outward like black lightning across the ground. His newly trained soldiers rose one by one from fallen corpses of the assailants, not in human form, but as black silhouettes merging with the terrain. Kong Taeshik's body twisted first. His shadow peeled off the earth, rising to kneel before its master. Shadow extraction. Success. Shadow named. Iron. The new soldier's eyes glowed deep cerulean. The aura of the dungeon rippled, as though it now feared its own creation. Jinwoo stood slowly, steadying his breath. Let them come, he whispered, staring toward the skyline where guild towers glimmered in the distance. If they want a war, they'll get one. Back at the association, Go-Gun he watched surveillance feeds showing the aftermath, a cratered field, black mana residue, readings off the charts. He exhaled deeply, pressing a trembling hand over his heart. I recognized this long ago, he murmured. That boy isn't just awakening, he's evolving. His secretary stepped forward nervously. Sir, what is he becoming? The old man's gaze turned toward the horizon. The balance keeper, or the calamity that ends it. Outside, the first storm clouds gathered, not of weather, but mana flow itself. The hunters' war had truly begun. Power without purpose is chaos, and destiny without control is a storm. As the dust of war settles, Sung Jinwoo's path begins to take shape. Welcome to Chapter 10, Shadow Monarch's Path. If you're enjoying the solo leveling cinematic saga, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Anime What If Saga for more epic storytelling. 2 days after the incident that decimated half a hunter squad, Sung Jinwoo found himself at the association headquarters again, this time by official summons, not request. He walked through the sterile corridor, silent except for the echo of his steps. Association guards shifted nervously as he passed. They didn't make eye contact. Jinwoo adjusted the collar of his long black coat. His presence now carried weight, not from mana intensity alone, but from something older. He could feel their instincts screaming even when he tried to suppress his aura. The receptionist stammered, the chairman's waiting. Top floor. He stepped into the elevator. As the doors closed, his reflection flickered faintly in the mirrored panel. Lit eyes, faint wisp of smoke curling at his shoulders. Monarch. The whisper sliced through his thoughts again, that same disembodied voice from the void. It always came when he was alone. But lately, it didn't sound distant anymore. It sounded closer. The chairman's office was vast but quiet, sunlight pooling across the table like liquid gold. Go-gun he sat in a high-backed chair, his health worn thin yet spirit unbent. When Jinwoo entered, the old man smiled faintly. You've grown, Hunter Sung. Not just in strength, in silence. Jinwoo bowed slightly. Sir. I assume this isn't about another raid clearance. Go-gun he gestured to the seats. Sit. I won't keep you long. He poured tea, hands slightly trembling, but his mana aura filling the room with authority still unmatched by most of Korea's hunters. I've seen something like you before, he said finally. Not a player. Not even a reawakened human. Something between man and monarch. The word hung heavy, monarch. Jinwoo's eyes flickered briefly in recognition. You know that term too. Go-gun he nodded. The great war that began before our kind ever understood what gates truly were, monarchs and rulers, battling across dimensions. Some fragments of that war remain, in hunters like us. Jinwoo frowned. And which side do I belong to? The older man smiled sadly. That, only you can decide. Hours later, outside the association, Jinwoo walked alone through the rain-soaked streets. His mind churned. Monarchs. Rulers. Wars beyond worlds. Pieces of memory that weren't his had begun slipping into dreams. Black armies, golden cities, skies split in two. Lightning cracked the sky, and the world twisted. He found himself no longer in Seoul, but standing on a sea of ash. Above him, stars trembled beneath gigantic silhouettes, wings, fangs, and crowns of shadow. The air pulsed like a living heart. And from the darkness ahead stepped a figure wrapped in black mist, humanoid, yet hollow where a face should be. You feel it now, don't you? The voice said. It was the same one from his nightmares. The rhythm beneath reality. The heartbeat of our kind. Images flooded his mind. Countless soldiers kneeling before a single throne made of midnight. A shadow-crowned king of the dead. His chest throbbed with pain. Who are you? I am what you will become, the figure replied. The monarch of shadows. The system, my final anchor. The figure reached out, the contact searing Jinwoo's consciousness. Synchronization. 30% complete. He fell to one knee, clutching his head. Stop. I'm not you. The entity's tone deepened, almost amused. Denial is the first form of control. Accept it, and command death itself. Then the world inverted, and he was back in the rain, gasping for breath, drenched, trembling. That night, Jinwoo stood in an abandoned industrial parking lot, his mind replaying the vision. The rain poured harder, cold against his skin. He called forth his shadows, Iron, Ghetto, and 8 others, forming a circle around him. Their forms flickered quietly in the storm's reflection. He raised his hand. Respond. In instant unison, they knelt. He exhaled. This time, the aura didn't frighten him. It belonged to him. Command level increased. You are evolving, command of 10 confirmed. 10 soldiers, he murmured. A king needs an army. Lightning flashed again. For an instant, the world shimmered, and he saw faint outlines beyond reality. Thousands. Waiting. Watching. Shadows, like echoes of war. His pulse slowed. His fear didn't return. Only clarity. If power is a curse, he said softly, looking toward the night, then I'll curse the world back. The system glowed faintly at his peripheral vision. Warning. Monarch instability rising, 15%. He smirked. Let it rise. Meanwhile, in his office, Go-Gun he stared out the rain-drenched window, gripping his cane. A faint breeze stirred the papers beside him. He whispered to a watching aide, he'll either save us all, or summon the age that ends us. Lightning tore the night sky again, distant but unmistakably black for an instant, not thundercloud, but mana. And for the first time in centuries, the ancient fragments sealed within the first awakened gate began to stir. Old monarchs remembered his name. The world had felt its king's heartbeat. The storm has broken, and in the heart of it, a monarch wakes. Human no longer, hunter no longer, a king rises from the dark. Welcome to Chapter 11, The Monarch's Awakening. Like, share, and subscribe to step deeper into the cinematic solo leveling saga only at Anime What If Saga. It began with a heartbeat. Not his. The sound came from beneath him, vast, heavy, resonating through black soil that wasn't there moments before. He opened his eyes to a world without sky, an endless sea of darkness stretching infinitely in all directions. The air itself glowed faintly blue, revealing countless figures kneeling. Warriors. Giants. Beasts. Every shape bowed toward him. The silence was overwhelming, beautiful and terrifying. And before him stood the same faceless figure from his dreams, its body half formed from smoke and silver ash. You're almost whole, the echoing voice whispered. The vessel holds strong. Jinwoo clenched his fists. You're the one inside me. The figure tilted its head. Inside. No. You are inside me. This body, this strength, gifts carved from my fragments. What do you want? Jinwoo demanded. What all monarchs want, it answered, spreading its arms. To rule, in the balance between death and eternity. To restore what was stolen. Behind it, visions burst into motion, golden-winged beings clashing with leviathans made of night, nations erased under beams of white flame. The rulers will come again, the voice hissed. And when they do, this world will need you awakened. Jinwoo shook his head. No. I decide who I fight for. The shadow laughed. Then fight. Conquer. It makes no difference. You or me, whether you accept it or not. System message. Synchronization level 65%. The world shattered into fragments of dark glass. Jinwoo woke with a gasp, drenched in sweat, clutching his chest. The air around him felt heavy, thick with mana pressure. The temperature dropped so sharply that breath fogged the room. He whispered to the silent space, "You're not controlling me." He stood, walking to the open balcony. Below, Seoul's lights shimmered through early dawn haze. Yet somewhere deep beneath the city, the ground pulsed faintly, a ripple of energy no other hunter could sense. That morning, hunters across the country woke to the same message on their devices. Mana disturbance detected across all registered regions. Possible gate instability. In Washington, London, Tokyo, association monitors flickered with impossible readings. Billions of mana units circulating without a source. Scientists argued. Hunters panicked. But in one old office chair, Chairman Go-Gun he sat motionless, eyes shut. His heartbeat synced briefly with another far away, Sung Jinwoo's. The balance, he whispered. It's beginning again. Later that week, Jinwoo accepted another unranked gate in the city outskirts, supposedly a routine cleanup. But as he entered, the temperature dropped instantly, and torches along the ancient ruin walls flickered alive on their own. The walls were engraved with images he'd seen in dreams, kings with crowns of black flame and armies crawling from their shadows. Something deeper called him forward. At the center of the chamber waited a structure resembling a throne, carved from obsidian, covered in runes. As he approached, his shadow soldiers began to tremble. Warning! Shadow entities unstable. Command override. Monarch authority requested. Monarch authority. He whispered. Then came the whisper again, no longer distant, but inside his skull. Speak the words, child of darkness. Command, and rise. The throne ignited in black fire, the chamber shaking violently. Stone cracked, light dimmed, mana howled like wind. Every shadow in the dungeon billowed, expanding, merging into one vast vortex of darkness. One by one, new figures rose, animals, warriors, monsters, forming an army without flesh, made entirely from death's memory. Shadow extraction successful. 108 entities acquired. Skill evolution. Army of the Dead right pointing arrow Shadow Legion. The message flashed before him, and then, silence. He was surrounded by an army kneeling in complete submission. The throne crackled once more. The same faceless being appeared before him, this time stepping from the flame rather than smoke. Half its form mirrored his now, his eyes, his stance, his voice layered beneath its own. Now do you understand, Sung Jinwoo? It asked, raising a hand. Our strength is not borrowed. It is the nature of all that dies. Jinwoo met its gaze, breathing steady. Then all that dies belongs to me. The being bowed its head, a gesture of feigned respect. To us. Jinwoo closed his eyes and steadied his breath. The air trembled again, but not from him, from everything kneeling. He felt it all. Their hearts, their stillness, their emptiness waiting for command. Shadow Sovereign title unlocked. Your existence has been recognized by the system as true monarch. Jinwoo stepped toward the throne, but did not sit. His voice was cold, absolute. I don't serve power. Power serves me. He turned his back to the phantom and raised his hand. Arise. The chamber exploded with light and darkness intertwined. The throne shattered. The phantom entity screamed, torn between two existences. When the light faded, it was gone. And standing alone amid drifting ash was Sung Jinwoo, cloaked in the aura of midnight, eyes blazing violet black. In every corner of the dungeon, shadows whispered one name, King. Days later, international associations convened emergency meetings. Dungeons worldwide began resonating, reacting as if in reverence. A gate in Siberia collapsed before it could open. Another in California froze mid-expansion. The world's equilibrium trembled, yet no Armageddon followed. Because something, someone, had replaced the balance. News outlets ran with theories. A new monarch appears, unrecorded power stabilizing global mana wave, and one whispered headline leaked among the hunters' forums. Shadow King of Korea, Mystery Hunter halts gate expansions worldwide. To Jinwoo, it meant nothing. He didn't want fame. He wanted control. He stood that night at his mother's bedside, quiet as ever. The hospital room felt peacefully normal. Her heart monitor's faint beep reminded him, human life was fragile, finite. That was what made it worth protecting. Even if he no longer was human himself. He reached for her hand. Sleep well, Mom. I'll keep the monsters out for you, no matter what they call me. And outside, the shadows bent slightly, as if bowing. The world thought it had survived the storm. But the real war was only sleeping. Tonight, the monarchs return. This is Chapter 12, The Monarchs Return. Like, share, and subscribe to Anime What If Saga, where the legend continues. 3 days of silence passed after the awakening. No new gates opened. To ordinary people, it seemed as if the gate era was finally ending. But to the association, the readings told a hauntingly different story. Mana levels across Earth skyrocketed, spiking unpredictably. Satellite sensors recorded flickers of dimensional energy not in single points, but everywhere. Go-Gun he stared at the data feed, voice steady but faint. It's beginning. Just like before the first great cataclysm. His assistant hesitated. Sir, you mean? He nodded slowly. The monarchs who once retreated, are waking up. He turned to the window where Seoul shimmered in golden sunset. And only one man stands between us and them. The Boy of Shadows. Scene 1, Northern Pacific Trench. A black fissure tore open at the bottom of the sea, lightless and infinite. From it rose a being the size of a skyscraper, part leviathan, part serpent, its scales like carved stone. The monarch of destruction, Antares, breathed for the first time in eons. The Shadow King walks again, he growled, voice echoing through abyssal water. Then the age of rest ends. Let us reclaim our dominion. The sea boiled around him as countless red-eyed beasts erupted upward, diving toward the surface, a legion reborn. Scene 2, Antarctic Ice Core. Inside frozen wastelands, ice cracked for miles as something massive stirred beneath layers of snow. The monarch of frost opened her crystalline eyes, pale and bright as winter stars. Even the weakest of us has reawakened. Her breath turned the air into avalanches. The rulers will descend, and the war begins anew. Around her, entire glaciers disintegrated, and an icy mist carried whispers to all corners of the world. Scene 3, Sahara Desert. An endless sandstorm coalesced into a humanoid figure clad in swirling gold dust and ancient armor. The monarch of plagues formed out of ruin, his skeletal grin spreading slowly. How long have I waited, for the shadow's heart to beat again? He whispered. Now, let blood complete the cycle. Thunder rolled across clear skies where there were no clouds. Meanwhile, Sung Jinwoo stood on the balcony of his apartment at dawn, Tokyo lights flickering faintly across the horizon. He could feel their awakening, vibrations resonating in his bones, his shadows whispering like anxious soldiers before war. Every distance, every heartbeat across the planet connected to him through invisible threads of mana. Iron knelt beside him, head bowed. My liege, disturbances multiply. Shall we investigate? No, Jinwoo said quietly. Not yet. His tone carried not fear, but restraint. For the first time, he wasn't worried about protecting himself, but the world from his own strength. System alert. Monarch resonance detected 32 locations. Objective. Prepare shadows for global war. He gritted his teeth. So it begins. High beyond the visible universe, where light itself bends to thought, 7 beings watched the chaos unfold. Their eyes shone gold, wings made from pure mana curving like halos of stars. One spoke, voice like echoing thunder. The cycle restarts sooner than expected. Another answered, the vessel, Sung Jinwoo, has integrated faster. The Shadow Monarch's essence returns, but not its will. He still resists. A third, radiant beyond description, leaned forward. Then there's hope yet. If the vessel's human heart endures, perhaps this world avoids repetition. The eldest of them all closed his golden eyes. Or perhaps the shadows consume him, and we must destroy another world. Their wings folded in unison, divine light disappearing into the cosmic void. Back on Earth, Jinwoo sat alone in a dark chamber, deep beneath a facility only he and a handful of association staff knew existed. The room housed his growing legion, hundreds of soldiers resting inside crystalline seals, awaiting their master's call. The air thrummed with restrained energy, endless whispers singing one word, order. He walked between them in silence, his reflection splintering across their black armor. Each shadow held a fragment of his soul, his memories, his pain, his burden. If he called them all forth, it would shake continents. And he knew it. Skill. Shadow Legion 108, infinite capacity. Infinite, he murmured. Even infinity feels small when you have no one to share it with. The silence answered. The army waited for command that never came. While nations panicked over strange auroras painting their skies, Jinwoo returned to his mother's hospital room. She slept peacefully under the gaze of quiet machines. Jinna sat beside her, eyes red with exhaustion. You've been out again, haven't you? Everyone's talking about this new mana crisis. He offered her a tired smile. Don't worry. I'll stop it before it hurts anyone. Jinna frowned softly. You sound like you don't belong here anymore, Oppa. The words stung more than any battle. He looked down, the glow in his eyes dimming. Maybe I don't. Outside, the shadows stirred faintly, murmuring his true title like distant thunder. Monarch, Monarch, Monarch. That night, a gate ruptured open above the East China Sea, massive, radiant red like the sun bleeding across the horizon. Tidal waves hurled forth, laced with flashes of lightning. Warning! Cataclysm class gate detected. Jinwoo appeared instantly on the shoreline, teleportation shadows flickering around him. The world felt wrong. Unbalanced. Too heavy. Then he saw it, the first descent. A colossal serpentine shape tearing free from the gate's heart, the monarch of destruction. Antares roared, a sound that shattered clouds and bent light. Ah, at last. My brother King of Shadows appears. The sea exploded around them, and the entire horizon went dark. Jinwoo's eyes blazed violet as his Shadow Legion materialized behind him, hills trembling from their emergence. Then come, he said, unsheathing twin black daggers that pulsed with aura far beyond mortal sight. Let's see who deserves to rule this world. Their gazes met, fire and night. The first monarch war in centuries was about to begin. When gods return, the world becomes their battlefield. From the ashes of men, monarchs rise once more. This is Chapter 13, War of the Kings. If you're enjoying this cinematic solo leveling saga, hit like, share, and subscribe for more epic storytelling, only on Anime What If Saga. The red gate above the East China Sea widened like a bleeding sun. Its light soaked the ocean crimson, waves rising hundreds of meters as if fleeing what was coming through. From its heart came a roar, not a sound, but a force of reality bending. Antares emerged fully at last, wings like continents, body coiled with molten veins, each scale glowing like forged obsidian. Beneath that colossal frame, the sea steamed into mist. Every radar on Earth went blind simultaneously. All communication faltered. For millions watching the live broadcast, signals cut out, leaving only static and a single frame of two figures facing one another above the ocean, one draped in shadow, one in fire. Sung Jinwoo stood atop the blackened waves, shadow aura bending gravity itself. His army formed behind him, ranks upon ranks of knights, beasts, mages, and monsters reborn, stretching far beyond the horizon. His eyes locked onto Antares. The dragon monarch's voice thundered across the sky. You wear his title, boy. But you are no king. Only a vessel, feeding on scraps of my old rival's glory. Jinwoo's swords pulsed, reflecting lightning streaks arcing through the storm. You call yourself the monarch of destruction. Let's see if your name still means something. Antares spread his wings. Whole miles of atmosphere rippled outward. You'll regret awakening before mastering what you are. The war began with that scream. Antares descended, claws tearing the sea apart. Jinwoo leapt upward to meet him, twin daggers blazing with pure shadow light. The collision shattered the clouds, shockwaves exploded across hundreds of kilometers. Where their strikes met, water vaporized into steam, forming a pillar of darkness piercing the heavens. Skill. Shadow exchange, active. Jinwoo vanished, reappearing beneath Antares. His blades struck deep, tearing through armor-thick scales. Black fire burst from the wounds, swirling with violet lightning. Antares bellowed in fury. You dare wound me, imitation king. Very well, feel destruction. The dragon's chest glowed, a core of molten runes forming within it. A beam of annihilation erupted from his throat, disintegrating everything in its path. Jinwoo crossed his blades, summoning all shadows in defense. Skill. Shadow Barrier, reinforced priority. Thousands of soldiers materialized, their overlapping shields condensing into an obsidian wall. The beam met it, light and dark collided. The ocean below vanished into steam as the world trembled from the force. High above, lightning dance mixed with fire. Every hunter in Asia felt the pressure. Even S ranks fell to their knees, unable to breathe. In Seoul, Cha-hae incensed the clash through mana tremors. Her heart broke in equal measure, awe, fear, love, and despair. He's fighting alone. Go Gun-hee, watching from the association roof, whispered to the storm, it's not two kings fighting. It's creation devouring itself. Back at the battlefront, Jinwoo broke free of the firestorm, aura flaring like a dying star. His voice cut through the wind. I'm done holding back. Skill. Monarch's domain, activated. A pulse of pure shadow blanketed the horizon. Seagulls in Tokyo turned to silhouettes mid-flight. Ships hundreds of miles away lost color, frozen by sheer mana gravity. For the first time since the ancient war, night fell at noon. And from the ocean floor, his legion arose, titans made of death and shadow, thousands of meters tall, encircling Antares like gods of void. Antares roared, diving into the shadow horde. Fire cascaded from his wings in rivers, scorching waves of black soldiers, yet the more he burned, the more they multiplied. Jinwoo commanded without gesture, instincts turned symphony. Barris, iron, tank, forward lines. Surround. Crush. The sea erupted in unholy war. Black beasts the size of islands grappled with fire dragons. Shadows poured endlessly into the sky, devouring light itself. Through it all, Jinwoo moved like the heart of a hurricane. Every flash of his dagger carved through scales, every command birthed new soldiers. Still, Antares pushed back, regenerating each wound, his flames only growing hotter. You fight well, the monarch snarled, landing a tail strike that sent Jinwoo crashing through miles of ocean water. But you cannot kill destruction itself. Jinwoo rose from the sea, steam ghosting off him. I'm not trying to destroy you, he said darkly. I'm your replacement. System message. Shadow Monarch synchronization 90%. True form unsealed. Dark wings erupted from Jinwoo's back, thousands of feathers scattering like mist. His aura warped reality, the sea turned to frozen glass beneath his feet. He raised one hand. All who've fallen, rise again. Every corpse in the world of monsters, land, sea, and sky, responded. The ocean cracked open as new legions clawed their way out, screaming their allegiance. The sky filled with chaos, Antares surrounded, still fighting, but his fire dimmed beneath the tide. This was not battle. This was reclamation. Jinwoo's voice echoed across the horizon. Rest, monarch of destruction. Your age ends here. He flung both daggers. The blades burned with light too dark to name, piercing Antares straight through his core. Black fire erupted in silence. Antares froze mid-roar, eyes widening, fury and realization mingling. You are not him anymore, came his dying words. Jinwoo's expression softened. You're right. I'm me. The light consumed everything. When the ocean calmed, the red gate was gone. The seawater still boiled, yet under it lay utter stillness. Jinwoo stood on the surviving fragment of ocean ice, shadows fading around him. The night's storm dissipated, revealing stars above. He whispered quietly, it's over. But the sky disagreed. Warning. Multiple monarch signatures detected. Estimated arrival. 7 days. Jinwoo looked upward, eyes calm despite exhaustion. So, it's not over yet. He turned toward the horizon, his soldiers dissolving one by one into his shadow. Behind him, the sky flashed gold, rulers awakening to respond. One era ended. Another, the War of Realms, had just begun. When kings fall, gods awaken. The war between monarchs has ended, but the battle for existence is only beginning. Welcome to Chapter 14, Rise of Realms. If you're enjoying this cinematic solo leveling saga, hit like, share, and subscribe for more epic storytelling only on Anime What If Saga. The ocean still steamed under the morning sun. Aircraft circled cautiously over the East China Sea, recording the aftermath of devastation that blanked radar for days. Ships found no trace of the Red Gate, no bodies, no explosions, no life. Just silence, stretching far as the horizon. At the Association HQ in Seoul, officials watched footage of calm seas and reported impossible readings, energy signatures too vast to categorize. Every scientist agreed on one unsettling fact: a new equilibrium had established itself, and it was alive. Chairman Go Gun-hee whispered to the monitors, he did it, but at what cost? Far from the ruins, Sung Jinwoo walked through the quiet inner streets of Seoul in a dark hooded jacket. He looked like an ordinary man again, his aura withdrawn, steps soundless. The world greeted him with brief stares, unaware they looked upon the figure who had just saved their planet. He stopped at a crosswalk near Han River, watching sunlight scatter on water. The air felt sharper, clearer, as though creation itself had reset. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to smile slightly. It's quiet again, he murmured. Beside him, shadows rustled faintly under the pavement. Iron's voice resonated just for him. Sire, the armies wish to rest. Jinwoo nodded gently. Then let them rest. We've earned that much. That night, the peace broke. The stars dimmed, one after another, swallowed by radiant white light. The temperature rose as if day had come early. Jinwoo looked up from the balcony of his apartment and frowned. That's not natural. A sphere of brilliance formed high in the sky, not falling, not burning. Just watching. Its voice echoed through the world's mana fields, carried like wind to every living being. Shadow Monarch. You upset the balance too early. Now we must descend. The voice was neither male nor female, divine, patient, absolute. Before Jinwoo could answer, the sky split. 7 colossal beings emerged from pure gold light, humanoid but winged, each with halos circling their foreheads like planetary rings. Their arrival shattered clouds into spiral storms. Every hunter across Earth fell to their knees as instinct screamed submission. Detected. Presence of rulers, archlords of light, enemies of monarchs. Jinwoo's breath slowed. His aura flared unconsciously. So, the rulers finally move. The central being stepped forward, its golden wings spanning the skyline. Its expression was calm, almost kind. Sung Jinwoo, it said softly, shadow of death, inheritor of the Black Monarch's abyss, we did not wish to intervene. But now that you've awakened, conflict is inevitable. Jinwoo straightened, unfazed by their divinity. I didn't ask for war. Neither did we, the ruler replied, voice like thunder behind serenity. But your birth reignited the inevitability of balance. Monarchs rise, rulers answer. Do you think the universe can tolerate one side in full control? Jinwoo's eyes glimmered faint violet. Balance. You mean the endless slaughter both your kinds call peace. For a moment, the ruler paused, considering him. You've seen too little of eternity, mortal turned king. Dominion exacts a cost. Then I'll pay it, Jinwoo said simply, aura flaring. So long as my world stays safe. The other rulers murmured among themselves, their halos flickering like galaxies. Finally, the first turned its gaze toward him again. Very well, Shadow Monarch. Then you will fight for this world alone. When the monarchs rise again, and we will not protect you. Wouldn't have it any other way, Jinwoo replied. After the rulers vanished, their light left ripples visible even from space, auroras twisting violently above every continent. Within those colors, new cracks formed, fissures bridging realities once sealed. Go Gun-hee studied the phenomenon grimly. It's the realms merging, again. The boundary between dimensions is thinning faster than we predicted. If so, an aide whispered, then the war will step onto Earth directly. Gunhee nodded. And we only have one king on our side. Deep beneath the earth, under an ancient ruin Jinwoo had claimed as his domain, the Shadow Army stirred anew. Hundreds of thousands of entities knelt inside a vast underground citadel. Black banners adorned with faint silver runes flickered in unseen wind. Jinwoo stood upon a raised dais, cloak rippling, his eyes glowing with cold resolve. Command interface. Shadow Legion active. Troop status. Full resurrection complete. He looked upon them, countless lives restored through death, their forms loyal and eternal. He raised his hand briefly. From this point on, he said, voice resonating across the vast chamber, every realm will seek to claim Earth. We defend it until the last shadow fades. A unified roar, more felt than heard, shook the air. Shadows bowed in endless motion, filling the citadel with power like a heartbeat. Before his next war began, Jinwoo visited his mother's bedside one final time that week. She was awake now, pale, quiet, but alive. Her gentle smile returned. It's you, she whispered, reaching out. You've changed so much, my son. He knelt, clasping her hand. There's still things I have to finish. But I'll come home soon. Her eyes softened. Just don't lose yourself, Jinwoo. The shadows around the room flickered gently, almost responding. His gaze turned solemn. I won't, Mom. I promise. Outside, thunder rolled across a cloudless sky. Lightning bloomed black for an instant, unseen except by those who could feel Mana's pulse. Jinwoo stood, watching raindrops trace the window. Let them rise, he murmured. This time, the shadow will protect the light. There are days when history becomes legend, and legends break the world. The sky opens, realms collide, and a single king stands before fate itself. This is Chapter 15, Realms United. Like, share, and subscribe to Anime What If Saga for the ultimate solo-leveling cinematic journey. The warning came as a pillar of light erupted from Mount Everest's summit, splitting the dawn and announcing to every living soul that the world was no longer their own. Across every continent, gates burst open, not portals to dungeons, but to realms of myth. Cities from Paris to Shanghai hung suspended in impossible daylight. The sky shimmered, translucent and gold, as the rulers, armies marched down columns of divine flame. Each angelic entity radiated power that pushed mortals to their knees, their armor blinding, their eyes like molten suns. In Seoul, as the first shadows of wings darkened the morning, Jinwoo's phone vibrated with message after message. Monsters. No, it's something else. Please respond. Jinwoo, is this the end? Save us. He stepped onto his apartment roof, raincoat billowing in celestial wind. Above him, the rulers gathered, thousands strong, a tapestry of pure mana and purpose. In government bunkers and association halls worldwide, panic reigned. Satellites spiraled out of orbit, digital signals collapsing as every system overloaded. The old world ended by sunrise. But beneath Seoul, the Shadow Citadel shuddered with anticipation. Jinwoo descended quickly, soldiers falling in around him. Towers of obsidian rose from the earth, their banners already aflame with ghostly blue fire. Iron, Beru, Tank, and the first line of loyal shadows stood waiting. He spoke quietly, voice reaching every soul in the Legion. Today, we fight not for conquest, but to keep a home worth dying for. Hold the line against heaven, no matter the cost. His words pulsed through the shadows, very essence. A chorus replied. For our king. For this world. As the first armies clashed in orbit, Jinwoo stepped into the upper air, shadows erupting at his feet, forming a bridge of dark smoke that coiled into the sky itself. He met the rulers before Seoul's skyline, face to face with the leading seraph clad in incandescent silver armor. The seraph's voice thundered. Sung Jinwoo. For your defiance and the risk to this world, surrender or be cast beyond oblivion. Jinwoo's gaze was calm, Both his daggers were already in hand, his shadow spreading across the city for miles. I've stood alone before gods, before monarchs, and before death. I will not kneel to your order. The seraph lifted a blazing spear in silent reply, golden runes inscribing doom across the air. In New York, hunters led by Thomas André prepared to defend their city. In Paris, a united front of D, C, and S rank hunters prayed beside the Seine, watching the heavens for signs of hope or annihilation. For the first time in Earth's history, every nation fought together, against powers their ancestors called gods. Jinwoo called out a single word. Arise. From his shadow, an army of 10,000 thundered upward in perfect formation. Shadow knights, monstrous titans, and familiar soldiers like Iron, Tank, and Beru led the charge. They met the rulers, host in midair. Mana cracked, night and day colliding. Beings of gold and beings of void crashed with the force of tectonic plates. Lightning shaped like scripture raced across the sky as Beru took on a trio of golden armored archangels, iron deflecting solar hammers from heavenly giants. For every shadow destroyed, another rushed in to take its place. The world below was painted in clashing waves of light and darkness. Jinwoo himself darted through the storm, blades cutting through divine steel, cloak swirling in the fires of both realms. Blood, shadow, fire, and golden luminance warped the horizon. In a rare moment, all combat ceased, for the seraph's spear hovered, inches from Jinwoo's heart, and Jinwoo's blade was poised at the seraph's throat. Their armies paused, sensing judgment's edge. The seraph studied Jinwoo's face, seeing not malice, but a humanity the cosmos feared. Why fight so hard, monarch? The seraph asked softly. Jinwoo, breathless but unyielding, answered. Because the only thing more terrifying than oblivion is a world without mercy, without love. You can destroy my flesh, but nothing you do will unmake the will to endure. For an instant, heaven and shadow peered into one another, not as monsters, but as souls bound by a need to be seen, to matter. And in that instant, the balance of realms shifted ever so slightly. After an extraordinary journey from the weakest E-rank hunter to the Shadow Monarch, Sung Jinwoo stands at the helm of a world forever changed. His rise has shattered the boundaries between realms, awakening ancient monarchs and attracting the divine rulers who guard cosmic balance. The war that began with a single shattered dungeon has escalated into a global battle between light and shadow, gods and mortals, fate and will. Jinwoo's strength is no longer measured in ranks or levels, but in the shadows he commands and the sacrifices made to protect humanity. Standing against celestial armies and timeless monarchs, he embodies the fragile hope that power wielded with resolve can save a world on the brink of annihilation. Though the battle is far from over, Jinwoo's journey reflects a timeless truth. Greatness demands sacrifice, loneliness follows power, and the measure of a king is not in conquest alone, but in the protection of all he holds dear. This concludes our cinematic journey through the rise of Sung Jinwoo, from a weak hunter struggling for survival, to the Shadow Monarch standing against gods and monsters alike. If you enjoyed this deep exploration of Solo Leveling's greatest hero, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more anime storytelling at its finest. Your support brings these epic tales to life. Thank you for joining Anime What If Saga. Stay tuned for more stories that push the boundaries of imagination, where shadows tell the greatest legends. Until next time, may your own journey be filled with courage, strength, and hope.